imagine, if you can, a world with no struggles, no adversity, no grief, and no dragons. Unfortunately, our world really doesn't work that way. Instead, it's a constant battle on how we think, how we grow, and having just enough strength to slay those dragons in our life. And you see, for me being a 17-year-old, I've learned quite a few things, but I also have so many great achievements. A lot of people know me for my I Love This Life Foundation, a nonprofit that I organized at the age of 13, or my Imagine, Believe, Achieve school assembly program that has now reached 27,000 kids and counting. I'm also known for my camp, Camp Holo, but for also being the CEO of Holo Brand, a clothing and shoe company. But if there's one thing I also want you all to remember me for, is the struggles that I've gone through in my life. The struggles that have shaped me into the person I am today. The struggles that gave me a platform like this. And the struggles that nearly derailed my dreams. You see, when I look at a kid like this, nowadays, I didn't truly realize how sad I was. And when I look at that now, I see a 5-year-old who was struggling more than ever. You see, when I was really young, my mom and dad divorced, and I felt lost. I didn't know where to go. Moving between 2 different houses every week and being the product of a broken home really weighed down on me. But thankfully, I had my dad. See, my dad saw that I was struggling, and he knew he needed to find something that would fill the void of a family bond that I didn't have so early on. And for me, that was racing cars. Racing gave me a purpose. It gave me the one thing I never really had early on in my life. It gave me a family. See, when I would go to the tracks, I would never really have a race mom like all the other kids did. But because of the people around me, they were able to fill that void. Racing gave me a platform, not only to help so many kids, but to truly also better myself. Racing taught me that life doesn't always go the way it's planned, but there's always going to be something there for you. Now let's jump forward 5 years. I am a 5th grader now, and for these past couple of years, I was raising money for kids battling pediatric cancer. Racing gave me this platform. It gave me this purpose to help people. Now, I was doing a lot of things. Every city I would race in, I'd go to a children's hospital and meet with the kids who were battling this awful disease. I would put these stickers on the inside of my car and hear the stories of the people fighting this horrible, horrible disease and truly understand where they were coming from. But it grew to such a point where I decided to take a play out of my dad's playbook. You see, on Fridays, my dad would wear a pair of pink shoes to work. He had a coworker that was battling breast cancer, and he wanted to let her know he was thinking about her. Now, being in the 5th grade, I said, well, I want to do that. I want to wear my own pair of pink shoes to school on Friday. What I didn't realize was that the first dragon that I had ever slain was just the beginning. What I thought would have been something to help so many people by wearing these pair of shoes would turn into a bullying incident that would change my life forever. I was called every name in the book, pushed around, laughed at. I had kids even trying to fling mud at my shoes to cover up the fact that they were pink. After that day, I wanted to give up. I wanted to go home and curl up in my corner and say, okay, you win. I give up. But thankfully, after a lot of time and learning from my experience, I was able to turn that into something positive. I learned that you should never let anyone define who you are. Now let's jump forward another 5 years. I know we're doing a lot of jumping here, but it'll all make sense. Life is finally starting to turn around. These past experiences have turned my platform upside down and made it so much bigger than I ever thought it could be. Life is finally starting to be what I imagined it to. The one thing I didn't imagine was the one person that I thought I could count on most walking out of my life. Literally. On January 17th, 2020, my mom walked out of my life. It was 17 degrees below zero, no coat, no phone, no keys, and not a clue in the world where she was going. In that exact moment, I felt lost again. This feeling I thought I had slain way long ago, back, just like that. But if I had learned anything from last time, I knew I couldn't fight this alone. So I called my dad. We had to find her. After a lot of time reaching out to family, friends, and running around the neighborhood, we knew that she was safe. But that night, the biggest dragon in my life just appeared. And I'll be the first to say, this one hit me harder than anything I've ever gone through. And this was going to be a lifelong battle, and it would be the toughest dragon to slay. But if there's one thing that night taught me, is that at some point, you have to reach out. Life isn't always going to go as you plan, but you never have to fight that battle alone. Now, in time, I learned to forgive my mother for what she did. It's sad to say that she's no longer in my life, but in time, I've learned to forgive myself, but forgive her as well. But because of this situation, it gave me an opportunity. It gave me an opportunity to start a workshop for kids who were dealing with the same thing, struggling to forgive. Misty was actually the main person at my workshop. She taught me how to forgive. But this opportunity allowed me to reach so many more kids that were struggling with the same thing. It allowed me to show them that they didn't have to fight this battle alone. Now, for those of you who know me, I've grown up right here. I've grown up on the WICON stage. But if it wasn't for people like Shelly G, Misty, Tori, Tennyson, Janet, Connie Miller, and so many others, I wouldn't have a thriving nonprofit like I do today. Now, because of them, I'm able to go out and share my story and spread my message to kids, not only about mental health, but how to combat their own struggles. I have a 988 apparel line, and I have an NIL deal with the #1 FCS quarterback in the nation. And together, we're changing the narrative on mental health. Now, in time, I want to have hundreds of school assemblies and hundreds of camps all across the nation, being able to share my message with kids and inspiring them that they can truly do something great. But what I also know is that in time, my foundation's only going to grow. But the dragons that I'll have to fight are going to grow right alongside it. But if there's anything that I was taught so long ago, was that we are always better together. There are so many people who are out there and willing to help you slay your dragons, but you just have to find them. And for those of you who want to take this journey on their own, it will be a daunting task, I can assure you. But if there's one thing I can absolutely promise you, is that it's always easier to slay your dragons together.